Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Creating Cross-Cultural Competence exhibition. This exhibition forms part of a larger research project for which we received funds from the University of Michigan's African Heritage and Humanities Initiative. The project aims to get students in information design to grapple with their cultural identities and see how that impacts on their design practice. Essentially, design education has always been informed largely by Western models of design education. And to keep it relevant and meaningful, we really want to see how South African cultural identity impacts on students' learning as well as their design practice. To this end, the exhibition comprises 3 curriculum-related projects. The first of which is a photo voice project that asks students to take photos of different prompts as it relates to culture and cultural identity. Photo voice is a participatory visual research method that asks participants to take photographs based on different prompts. So in our instance, the prompts were all related to cultural identity, cultural dialogue, cross-cultural competence, and ultimately design practice.
The Creating Cross-Cultural Competencies exhibition showcases a rich tapestry of narrative and thought, foregrounding various cultures and traditions that were specifically explored by second-year information design students. So one may ask why this matters in second-year information design practice and research. And what I've noticed in the exhibition is that the students have managed to inscribe their personal history and positionality in various ways of making and designing, whether it be through their head, heart, or hand. So this is one of the core philosophies of the second year information design program, is having good intellectual know-how, having your work some way be conceptually grounded, and then also inscribing a personal motive into the project itself.
Building on insights from the Photo Voice project, the second project shifted from photography to conceptual illustrations. Students reinterpreted their cultural narratives using creative techniques such as metaphor and analogy. The culmination of this was 2 illustration projects, one A3 illustration through which they needed to showcase their positionality in terms of culture, and a spot illustration which captured the essence of the theme that they were exploring.
Hi, I'm Krista Marie, a second-year information design student, and I really enjoyed the project on cross-cultural competence. It allowed for me to share my opinion and perspective whilst learning other people's opinions and really understanding how my classmates see the world and showing how I see the world. I particularly enjoyed the manifesto project, where I got to speak about a topic that is really important to me. I think the project allowed for the students to share their unique perspectives and share their thoughts on life and try and build understanding in a way that was productive. Overall, I think it was an amazing project that we got to do. I'm so glad that we could do it with Michigan, and I'm so excited to see people at the exhibition.
So the visual identity of this exhibition is rooted in the concept that culture is both dynamic and flexible. So you'll see that there's a few versions of the logo. They change and they morph, and the logo itself has been made in using a very solid, structural, neutral, and bold typeface. But I also applied a mesh warp to it to distort it. And this is to give the idea that culture is something that can change and be flexible based on internal or external experiences, maybe the places you live, the people you interact with, or the languages you speak. And the light blue background that is used here and there I chose it for its neutrality, its softness, and it also contrasts quite well with the charcoal color that I use on the typography. Then here and there I use grid lines, and the grid lines represent the framework or the structure that your culture can give you. Maybe it's practices you have in your family or your religion, but you'll see in one of the posters that the logo itself sort of breaks out of that grid line. And that is it's a metaphor of breaking out of your own culture, being curious, being open to other cultures, and being flexible. And I think that's really what this exhibition is about. We have our own grid lines, we have a framework that we live by in our culture, but we're also encouraged by this exhibition to kind of shift out of those grid lines a bit.
Cross-cultural competence, an exhibition by second-year BA Information Design students. We appreciate you coming out into this cold weather to support us, and we hope it's not only the wind that blows you away. Some housekeeping: the bathroom is down here. You will see it next to the elevator to your right, and then the emergency exit is to my left as well. A special welcome to the VIPs, Professor Kevin Thomas, the Dean of Faculty of Humanities, Professor Lisa Krill, the Head of School of Arts, Marina Latrite, the faculty's Education Innovation Consultant. This exhibition showcases 3 connected projects from the Information Design program at the University of Pretoria. Each project sees design as a tool for social change, using cultural identity and cross-cultural dialogue as key themes. The projects highlight how design can amplify diverse voices and inspire new ways of thinking about cultural narratives in South Africa. Project 1, Photo Voice.
So the first project was actually coded thematically into different themes as it related to students' responses to the prompts. And as you'll see on display, the emergent photo voice themes are divided into 4 overarching categories. The first one being cultural roots, where students really spoke about and grappled with where their identity takes root. So essentially that's about the foundations of their cultural identity, where they come from, their religious beliefs, childhood experiences, and their commitment or positions on a particular culture and identity. Secondly, related to that is this idea of cultural expression and how they express who they are. That essentially is the visual language of culture and how they express themselves and how they relate to others. Thirdly, linked to that is moving on to cultural adaptation and really how students navigate and negotiate with their cultural identity across and with other cultures. And then lastly, almost on a continuum of sorts, we have cross-cultural curiosity, and that speaks about sensorial encounters and how students engage with different cultures.
Project 2, Visualizing Cultural Dialogue in South Africa. Building on insights from the Photo Voice project, the project shifted from photography to conceptual illustration. Students explored their cultural narratives through metaphor, abstractation, and synthesis. Guided by research and reflection, they developed visual responses that communicated thoughtful and critical perspectives. The students created an A3 illustration and a spot illustration exploring the complexities of cultural change and cross-cultural lived experiences in South Africa. Project 3, Manifestos for Cross-Cultural Competence in a Design Practice. The final project used editorial design to explore cross-cultural competence.
The final project served as an editorial project in which students were asked to explore critical views on cross-cultural competence in design practice within the South African context. Students used editorial strategies such as typography selection, creative writing, the use of image and text to explore the question of what does a practice of mutual respect and cross-cultural practice in design look like to you. The resulting manifestos aren't as much a solid statement as they are explorations of different topics that students felt were close to their heart and close to their design practice, and that emanated from their own cultural experiences as design students and as individual designers in the South African context.
Throughout these 3 projects, by documenting and sharing my experiences, I've personally learned so much about myself and what I deem culture to be, which is truly rooted in so many different things. I truly believe that I am made up of everything I have ever loved and experienced. Culture is not a fixed set of traits, but a living, evolving collection of experiences, relationships, values, and memories. Culture in this sense is a personal yet collective, shaped by what we cherish and encounter across time. Cross-cultural competence, then, is the ability to recognize, respect, and engage with the diverse ways others are similarly shaped. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It is with great pleasure and privilege to introduce today's guest speaker, a trailblazer in the field of visual storytelling and a powerful voice for justice, dignity, and memory, Gulshan Khan. Gulshan's work is a profound exploration of the human experience. Through her lens, she illuminates stories of identity, belonging, transformation, and our deep interconnectedness with both community and nature. Her images do more than capture moments. They carry the weight of history and the promise of healing. A National Geographic explorer and former stringer for AFP, she was the first African woman to be regularly assigned by the agency. She became the first female South African Canon ambassador and was honored as one of the 100 heroines in 2019. Dealing with themes that range from politics and climate change, gender-based violence, to culture, Gulshan has published in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, The Guardian, and many other international and legacy publications. She teaches various subjects in the photographic education and also acts as a consultant on a range of visuals-related projects.
So is it possible, for instance, to track how everyday religiosities, spiritualities, and ritual practice are inscribed in various ways of designing and making? What I've noticed in this exhibition is that the students have a deep awareness of acknowledging cultural difference. And here we're acknowledging heterogeneous practices and worldviews that foreground respect, responsiveness, and interdependence. So one of the themes of the exhibition then acknowledges that no design mediation is external, isolated, or detached, but rather any design intervention emanates from within and is interdependent.
Khan has been carefully developing a body of work focused on Muslim communities in Southern Africa, tracing histories of slavery, political exile, resilience, and love. Through these stories of her ancestors, she seeks to create a meaningful archive preserving history, culture, and memory for future generations. Please join me in warmly welcoming Gulshan Khan.
Thank you, Abby. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here to speak this evening. In a time where so much feels uneasy and the world seems quite upside down, I'm really cherishing the moments of coming together and building connection. And this is really the overarching theme of tonight, building connection. Culture is many things, but the one constant, I believe, is that it is ever-changing and evolving throughout history, the paradox of which can often beautifully present itself in the human condition. In a country like ours, where we have for generations been separated, segregated, othered, dehumanized, and even made to fear each other, the need for us to truly see ourselves and to build empathy across the silos and ghettos that still exist, spatially, structurally, and economically, and even in our minds, is probably the most important purpose that we could have to building a better world. And what of design? Design is everywhere. From the online maps that brought you here tonight, to the pockets in which you're keeping your hands warm this chilly night. We need design that truly sees us, not just for who we are, but for who we need to be in the future. Through the process of this course, young people have had the opportunity to introspect, to develop thought and skills in learning to see through the blind spots, in active listening with presence of mind, in critical thinking, in dialogue and collaboration in community, all with the aim of using design more purposefully and reflectively as a catalyst for social change.
I wanted to reflect how culture can be something that is solid, that we can define for ourselves, but also for some people, something that is fluid and is influenced by local or external influences. But the goal of the branding that I did is not to define or pin down visually what is culture. It's more to create a space for engagement and conversation on what does it mean to us, and to be open and curious to what does it mean to other people, and to understand it from various perspectives.
It takes courage to look within ourselves and our histories, to the parts that make us different, and to bravely share those with the world in order to be seen and reflected. And so to the students, I hope you see this as a great achievement and something that will surely strengthen your person as you navigate this world and your future in it. Hearing about some of the discussions that were had during the dialogues that form part of the pedagogic approach of the projects on issues that ranged from faith, gender, language, food, even hair, and much more, finding the differences but also the sameness through an ethos of care has been so wonderful and inspirational.
The project aimed to give students a voice of their own, because very often when we speak about the transformation agenda and decolonization, specifically within institutional contexts, very often the conversation happens from a top-down approach. Behind closed doors with top management, and what we really wanted to do with this project is to allow students to have a voice and to advocate for what they think of cross-cultural competence as well as decolonization to a large extent.
Designing with the knowledge that we are a part of the natural world and not separating ourselves from it. That is that we are all interconnected. And we may not have all the answers as yet, but we are already moving in the right direction. And all that we can do is do our best to act with kindness. In her manifesto, Grace Chen, one of the students who is also showing here this evening, says, "In university, design is learned through the lens of Western design, whilst culture is analyzed as a craft. You constantly question how you can pass down your culture into design. Design, as it is taught, has become primitive, almost abstract. Culture became optional, yet it was excluded from the curriculum. Design is a universal skill, but at what cost? Would you choose to surrender English or your mother tongue?" Thank you, Grace, for those brave introspections. And I truly hope that we can find more and more ways to design authentically and organically. Our gratitude surely goes to Dr. Fatima Kassim and Dr. Audrey Hesse for being the catalysts and creating the safe spaces that has allowed students to feel, think, and design more critically and inclusively. As a visual practitioner, I think a lot about how we see and how this is informed by our backgrounds and our references, by our subconscious narratives, biases, and our ideas of the world. Adrienne Marie Brown wrote this beautiful poem called "There is an Edge," an ode to radical imagination, which I would like to read to you. "There is an edge beyond which we cannot grasp the scale of our universe. That border, that outer boundary, is imagination. the only known edge of existence, the only one we can prove by universal experience. We can imagine so much. We can only imagine so much. If perhaps it is a function of our collective minds, a dream of our endless nights, then there will be abundance so long as we can imagine it. Abundance on earth, if we can imagine it, or abundance of earths, a sphere for every tribe and every combination, and to have it all we need is to remember that there is an edge and grow your dreams beyond it. I'm going to end with the words of Zane Stewart, another one of the students showing work here tonight. Speaking to the theme of cultural interaction, they say, and I quote, "Even though something can be fragile to make, the result is so beautifully worth it." Thank you, Zane, and thank you to all of you. Please enjoy the show.
Thank you so much, Gulshan, for being with us today and sharing your insights and experience. Your work reminds us that the power of storytelling, we're able to connect and challenge and to inspire. We're truly grateful for the time you've taken to be here with us today. And as a small token of our appreciation, we'd like to offer you this gift with our heartfelt thanks. Let's give another warm round of applause.
We are very grateful for the funding from the University of Michigan so that myself, Fatima Kassem, and my co-PIs, Dr. Audrey Hesse here at the University of Pretoria, as well as Prof. Audrey Bennett from the University of Michigan, can continue with this project, and we hope that we can take this project and get students at other institutions, not only locally or nationally, but internationally as well, to grapple with their cultural identities and to spur conversation regarding cross-cultural competence, to inform not only design practice, but design theory as well.
Hello all, welcome to our exhibition. Throughout your time here, you will see 2 participation stations. We invite you to be a part of the cross-cultural dialogue by engaging at these stations as you walk through the gallery. The station at the back of the venue is a conversation starter, where you are encouraged to share your unique perspective and experiences by answering questions.
You'll see that the morphed typography and a bit of the blurred edges is also used in the prompts on the participation board over there. And if you know those mirrors that like bend or morph you that they have at like malls or play parks where you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm fat or I'm skinny, I wanted this morph to kind of act like a mirror as well, where you are able to reflect your own experiences, but also look at other people's experiences from a different perspective. So this warp emphasizes how perspectives and definitions of cultures can change as well.